Matricide is the act of killing one's own mother. You would think this would be a very rare occurrence, but it does happen. In this video, we'll be exploring two cases of matricide and the killer's reasons for committing it. Hello, my name is Janine, and I'll be driving you through this video today. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and buckle up because it gets crazy on Now You Know. In 1932, at the height of the Great Depression, Daisy Graham gave birth to a boy she named John. When John was 5 years old, his father died of pneumonia, which caused major financial hardship on Daisy. She was forced to send John to an orphanage. In 1941, Daisy married a man by the name of Earl King. Shortly after the wedding, Earl died of what we do not know. Daisy inherited enough money to be able to start her own successful restaurant. Despite having the money, she never went back to the orphanage to get John. Now, there are some conflicting stories as to when John and Daisy actually reunited, but regardless of when, all of the stories report that it was a strained relationship from then on. Family and friends claimed John and Daisy were always fighting. Even John's half-sister said she was fearful of him, as he had a very bad temper and was known to be violent. In 1954, Daisy's restaurant actually burned to the ground after a suspicious gas explosion. People suspected John to have caused the explosion because he was the one who collected the property insurance following the disaster. But there was no actual evidence supporting these claims. Did you know back in the day you were able to purchase life insurance from vending machines at the airport? On November 1st, 1955, John went with his mother to the airport as she was heading to Alaska to visit her daughter. United Airlines Flight 629 took off from Denver. Just a few minutes after takeoff, the plane exploded, scattering debris all over the sugar beet fields near Longmont, Colorado. The FBI used a barn near the site to put the fragments back together and discovered what explosives were used. During the investigation, police found Graham as a person of interest because he had benefited from multiple insurance claims prior to the plane explosion. The fact that he took out 3 claims on his mother the day she died was the biggest red flag. John was placed in a lineup, and the store owner who sold the explosives used in the bombing was easily able to pick him out. The FBI had enough to arrest John for sabotage, and then later they charged him for murder. He was tried and found guilty and sentenced to death. The life insurance policies he took out on his mother was for the amount of $37,500, which would be equal to about $380,000 today. The thing that you need to remember here is John didn't just kill his own mother for monetary gain. He also took the lives of the other 44 people on board. Upon John's confession, he stated, "I realized that there are about 50 to 60 people carried on a DC-6, but the number of people to be killed made no difference to me. It could have been 1,000. When their time comes, there's nothing they can do about it." On January 11, 1957, he was escorted into the Colorado State Penitentiary gas chamber. And, well, you know, like John said, when your time's up, there's not anything you can do about it. If you're interested in reading more about the FBI investigation into John, I would suggest reading Mainline Denver, The Bombing of Flight 629 by Andrew J. Field. The link is in the description box below. Our next case takes us to Encino, California, where a beautiful actress by the name of Susan Cabot lived with her son Timothy. Susan never disclosed who Timothy's real father was, as she was dating a handful of men, including a prince, before she became pregnant. When people would ask her directly who the father was, she would tell stories to avoid answering, saying things like his father's an FBI agent or worked for the CIA. Susan lived a happy and eventful life as most actresses do, but as she got older, she started to pull away from the fame and became a recluse. Family and friends later on claimed Susan was obsessive, a trait that ended her marriage to Michael Roman in 1981. The separation from her husband drove her into more of an introverted state. This had a major effect on Timothy, as she controlled every aspect of his life. Even at the age of 22, his mother wouldn't allow him to participate in the things he was interested in. mainly martial arts. And he very badly wanted out of the house. He wanted to be able to do his own things, live his own life. But Timothy had health issues. First, he was diagnosed with acute hypoglycemia, then dwarfism. Then, during an experimental treatment of the dwarfism, he contracted Jacob's disease, a rare neurological disorder that leads to dementia. Due to all of these conditions, Timothy was put on multiple treatments. These plans included injections of steroids, synthroid, cortisone, and testosterone. These were supposed to be regulated by Susan, but it was rumored she treated as she saw fit and not as directed. On December 10th, 1986, police were called to Susan's home, where they found Susan laying in her bed, covered in a silk sheet stained with blood. Timothy was the one who called police. He claimed that a ninja entered the home and he fought with the ninja in the kitchen. But despite the fact that Timothy was a martial arts enthusiast, he was overtaken by the ninja and Timothy was knocked out cold. When he woke up, he found his mother and called police. Timothy's story did not add up to what the scene portrayed, and he was taken down to the station for questioning. His story changed multiple times, eventually admitting to his mother's murder and showing investigators where the murder weapons were: a barbell and a scalpel that he had hidden in his room. He pleaded not guilty for reasons of insanity, blaming the chemical cocktails that had been pumped into his system since he was a young boy. Timothy's lawyers painted Susan as a deranged, washed-up actress who couldn't cope with the loss of her fame, so she closed herself and her son in, causing them both to go mad. When Timothy took the stand, he claimed his mother was screaming uncontrollably and that she seemed to not know who he was. She started to attack him with the barbell, and he managed to get it off of her, and that is when she came after him with the scalpel. He said that he had no choice but to beat her to death with the barbell, claiming self-defense. Timothy was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter and sentenced to 3 years probation, as he had already served 2.5 years awaiting trial. The remainder of Timothy's life was quiet, calm, and a bit sheltered. He died on January 22, 2003, at the age of 38 due to complications from Jacob's disease. You can find this story and others in The World's Most Bizarre Murders book, written by James Marison. The link to the book is in the description box below. That is all for today, my dears. Come back and visit me again soon. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can find your way back easily. As always, take care, stay safe, and thanks for listening.